Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Connor. Today we're taking a look at my 1996 Acura Integra that I picked up in Virginia 2 years ago for $2,800. I recorded these a while ago and I'm just getting around to editing these and posting these. But this is a project car I've been working on so far. We're like $9,600, $9,700 into it. But these are the early days of me working on it. And this should start to catch you up to where we're at today. So one video after the next, we'll eventually get caught up. But here's the start. This is my 96 Acura Integra that I picked up for $2,800. All I've done so far is replace the taillights, and I think that's it, honestly. But I have $1,200 worth of parts. I have new fenders, new suspension, new brakes, new rotors, headlights, turn signals, doors, door handles. That's a problem I gotta fix. But it's a manual. The dash lights don't work, so I have these little clicky lights so I can see, but it would definitely not pass inspection. So what I figure is today, because I have suspension and it's kind of a nice day, I'm going to go ahead and lift it back up so it can survive New Hampshire roads. See if I can do the rotors too. And yeah, I really did think I would get the suspension and rotors done the first day, but I was a little bit mistaken. This is my first time doing this on a vehicle besides an Xterra, so I didn't know what to expect. So here's the old suspension. It's actually not in bad shape. It just is a little too low for my liking. But something that I noticed that needs to be replaced. And I really should replace that before I put the suspension back on. However, I need to get this inspected so I can drive it first. So I think, as nice as it would be to fix that now, I think I'm just gonna move on and put the new suspension in. I got a couple things I gotta do today. One is this rotor. This needs to be replaced. If you look, there is a lip there at the top, and it should be beveled going out. That means these things are worn out. The fact that there's that lip at the top is not good. So I bought some new rotors and brakes. They say these are vented rotors and ceramic brakes, so those should be a little better. And then for the suspension, I got some stock stuff. Should work fine. It's a little bit better than stock, but it's gonna give it its height back so it can survive the New England roads, which will be good. I'm gonna take a guess and say that this is the correct one. Yeah, that looks the same. This is by far the trickiest part. Just getting this back in. So I had to ask my dad for some help. I did not realize that he put, I think these are lowering springs, or a lowering control arm, whatever it is. That made it a lot harder to get this on. At least I think. I might just be tripping out, but this is on now. Everything's tightened up. It's a little beefier than the old one, which is good. Go some ghetto measuring. It's like that, and then that easily has some wiggle room. Anyways, I'm on to move the rotors, replace those, and everything's coming apart pretty nicely, so it shouldn't be much trouble to. I probably spoke too soon. It shouldn't be that difficult to get this out. Maybe it's gonna be a little bit of trouble to get out, but this is next, and then the new rotors are going on. So I got the caliper off, hung it up. It's just 4 bolts. It's 2 larger ones holding the brake pads in, and then it's 2 small ones holding the caliper in. It's not that bad, but I'm running into a problem now. Previous owner decided to screw the rotor in, which was really not a great idea because I can't unscrew it. I'm trying to soak it in PV Blaster, see if I can get it out. I already started and it twisted out a little bit, So that's not a perfect thing anymore. So it's kind of, oh yeah, this is gonna suck. This is gonna suck. Here's my idea. I'm not sure if the length is gonna add any torque, but I know the girth of the handle is gonna help. So if I wear these are old gloves, maybe there's a chance that with enough force and grip, assuming that that'll fit. Yeah, it does. Maybe I can twist it out. Nope. Well, it's time to go to YouTube. Okay, so there's some pretty creative ideas. Basically, what I saw was you want to break as much of it loose as possible, like the rust and stuff on there. So you hit it with something. Maybe you have an impact gun. You just, hopefully that breaks the rust loose enough for it to come out. It also said you needed an impact gun to really, that's really not happening, an impact gun to really make a difference. Well, I was really hoping to get more on this car done today. I was hoping to get the suspension and the rotors on both sides, but based on how hard this is being, I don't have the tools or the time before it gets dark left. So also, it's 41 degrees right now. It's going to be getting colder, and I don't want to be working on bare metal too long. So I'm going to try to put everything back on. Maybe. Should I put everything back on? I don't know. Tomorrow is going to be a little warmer, so I think it'll be a good day for continuing this. I think I should probably just put everything back together. So the final product, we have way more ground clearance. The jack wouldn't go under the car before, but now it does. Probably gained us an inch of ground clearance, which is perfect. Like, oh my gosh. It's got a carbon fiber hood, but it is messed up. I'm gonna drive it. We are tilted probably about an inch. I still got a little bit of light left. I really kind of want to put the other suspension on, but making the car do this towards the front. But I do have rear suspension. Tilted it is. This wheel actually has more clearance, whereas this wheel has nothing. I don't think I'm going to have time to do the other suspension. However, the car does not have front turn signals, which is kind of a problem. I bought a ton of stuff for this car. One of those things is turn signals and door handles and other stuff. But yeah, there we go. Okay, so this has got a bulb here, or a socket. I'm going to assume that it doesn't work, but we're gonna double check it. Uh-oh. So it could be one of two things. It could be the actual bulb, or not the bulb, the socket, which I'm honestly really hoping that that's what it is because I bought new sockets. Or it could be the wiring, which if it is the wiring, that's bad because it's gonna be a lot harder to fix. I can do it, it's just an inconvenience. Sure. Try this little piece real quick. This is a Civic turn signal, which I think should be okay. Let's see if that one works. Yeah, there we go. Sweet. That wasn't so bad. The other turn signal shouldn't be that bad either because this one still has a socket piece, but it's been unprotected. So there's no telling if the this piece is any good. which I did not order new ones of those. This plastic piece is actually broken off, so there's no way for it to really click in. It just kind of slides in, which is less than ideal. Maybe it'll work, and if it does, I'm not gonna mess with it though. This is a little scary with how hard you have to push those in. I feel like I'm putting a lot of pressure on this little light bulb. And twist. Whew. That was a very tight click. Hey, that's actually sweet. That was way less difficult than I thought it was gonna. And now all I really have left to do is, yes, this is the right one. That slides in there, and then there's a screw that screws into that. So this is probably this bulb. Wait a second, what? How is that supposed to go in there? Okay, we're gonna hope it's this one. Yeah, that's gotta be it. So that goes in, then that screws, wow, that one step closer to becoming road legal. The only thing I don't have is daytime running lights down here. That's one of the snipped cables that I gotta replace. So, we got this thing. Oh gosh. There we go. Nice. Yeah, no door handles. Ready? Yeah. So again, for this suspension replacement, all we have to do is loosen this bottom bolt holding this wishbone looking thing. I think it actually is the wishbone, but we got to remove this bottom bolt. It's a 17mm head on this side. Then we need to loosen this bolt. I guess we do this one first, then those, and then that all comes out. And then there's these two bolts, and then it'll come free. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to need a 17mm on both sides for the very bottom of the lower control arm, and then I think it was a 14 for the higher one. Came off pretty easy. I just didn't have power tools, so it took a little bit. All that's really left is to take a wire brush so the new one goes in a little easier. Then grab some grease this up and put the new one in. So the same thing with this side as the previous side. That Skunk 2 upper control arm definitely made it harder to get the suspension in and seated wishbone part. But you can definitely do it with a little bit of maneuvering. And if you don't have that, it'll be a breeze. But I did have that, so I had to use a jack stand to hold the car up, or an actual jack to hold the car, and then use the jack stand to press the lower control arm up into the wishbone suspension. The suspension's on. Forgot about the brake line. I don't know how I feel about that fit. Unfortunately, my tie rod is split, which means I need to buy a new tie rod, because that's just bad. That is very gritty. It's not what you want. So I gotta buy a new tie rod. This bushing bearing thing right there looked a lot better than on the other side, so I think that's good. But when I go to replace the other side, I'll end up replacing that. This piece is still very solid. That looks fine. Now I'm gonna try to tackle the rotor. The hardest thing is these darn screws that are in this. So yeah, that's not coming out. I don't know how I'm gonna get these out. Maybe if I bang on them enough, but I doubt that that's really gonna make a difference. Yeah, no. So, if there's one thing I found, a YouTube video, you literally beat the crap out of it until it comes loose. So, I'm gonna beat the crap out of it until it comes loose. All brake calipers are pretty much the same. It's 2 bolts for the pads and then 2 bolts to remove it from the rotor. So I did that, I took a hammer, and I beat the crap out of it, and lo and behold, it worked, which is crazy. No freaking way. I literally just had to beat it with a hammer, and look at that. I mean, that doesn't look good, but it's good. Like, it's off. Like, now I can actually fix it and upgrade the rotors. I'm super hyped about that. That's awesome, dude. So I bet you if I just beat the crap out of that side with a hammer and try to, create some vibrations in it, it'll fix that side too. We should be all set for the new ones. Check this out. They're labeled. So I cleaned the mounting brackets, the inside and the outside ones, replaced the brake hardware, put the pads in, and then same process as taking them off. 2 big bolts to screw it back in, 2 bolts for the caliper pad section. I had to press the calipers out as well, but that wasn't hard. So it actually took a little longer than I anticipated because it had these new fittings and I was putting them in wrong. But that's how it looks. Pretty positive that's right. Yeah, that looks good. Ceramic brakes on this side, the vented rotors. I put the wheel back on and go ahead and do the other side. I just stuck that in there for the time being. I'm tempted to leave it in because of how loose I put it and how I put grease on there, but I don't know it's worth it because if that does rust, it's going to be a pain in the butt to get off, and the rotor is going to be plenty solid once the wheel's actually bolted down in there. I don't know, man. You know what? I'm going to leave it in, but it's thoroughly greased up, so it's not going to make a big difference. It's going to be easier to get out. Just took it for a test drive with the new suspension and brakes. And the vented rotors and the ceramic brakes do so much better than the old stuff. Suspension works pretty well too. It significantly lifted the car a little too much. It's going to need to be pretty high for the New England roads, and if I do decide to keep this, probably going to get coilovers. But I think the back right suspension's pretty shot. It's quite a bit lower than the back right. Did I say back right twice? I mean, that looks pretty even, but it is lower. Only problem if you will, is I take this curve right here, go around, make sure no one's walking, and then I take it. This took it at 45 to 50 before and felt very solid. Now with the front done and the back still lowered, it takes it at about 40. I wouldn't feel more comfortable going faster than 40. Could maybe do 45, but it's not nearly as flat. It actually has some body roll in it, which, you know what, it's fine. I want this to be drivable, so that's a good step. Next up is the rear stuff. I'm going to be putting the fenders back on once I replace the door and the door handles. And because the turn signals are now working, I really don't have much left to do. It's the rear suspension and brakes, front fenders. I got to replace the brake lights. 2 of them are out. And then I think, yeah, doors and door handles. So there's quite a bit left, but whatever. Whatever. I'm getting closer, and that's what matters. Just something I want to mention before the end of the video is to get this thing home, it did not have turn signals. So I jerry-rigged my own turn signals using a food Tupperware container with like the aluminum base with the plastic top, some LED remote control lights, and I actually had to stick my hand out of the window and point at the back of whichever turn signal I wanted to turn on and turn it on and off. And while I was headed home, my running lights gave out. I guess the fuse blew, and I have 90% tinted windows, and I didn't have a license plate. So I drove all the way home, 750 miles, with all of those things going on at the same time. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is episode 1. I got another one coming next week. Stay tuned.